Hello, everyone. I'd like to thank everybody who commented and gave me some advice on the future of the channel. Uh, Today, we're going to talk about a little thing called stress. And whether you realize it or not, I think it is something that affects everybody. Whether you're playing sports or worried about school or worried about your home life, everybody's got something in their life that they consider to be a stressor, something that adds pressure or anxiety or something that's maybe out of your control. And how do you go about handling that? How do you go about interacting in a world that seems to just pile more and more and more stressors onto you the longer you're in it? Um, Ever since I got back from camp, I've had this little twitch right here in my eye. It's like, duh, 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 duh. And I think it's stress, but it's probably stress from last week and from lack of sleep. And there's a lot of different physical things. If you don't have a good diet, if you have make unhealthy choices, it can pile onto your stress. If you're not getting the sleep you need, so there are ways to minimize the stress that's in your life. But uh, there's some good things from stress. That might sound weird to you, and it sounds weird to me coming out of my mouth, but I've got a scripture today. James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. It says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything." If I look at the story of my life and where I've been and where I'm going, I it's an incomplete story. And I look at where I'm at in my life now, and when you have kids, it kind of changes the entire way you look at the world around you, and it's not just your world. And there are things dependent on you and what you do, and that's a whole nother level of stress that adds to the equation. So if I took me at 16 years old or me at 12, aged them instantly, put them in the same situation that I am right now, and expected them to do the same things that I'm doing, I don't think I could accomplish it. I don't think that I would be ready, because it is the past stressors, it is the past events in your life that prepare you for the future events. Um, you know, I talked to many people last week who were going through some things at home that I could I would be a totally different person if I'd been through those things. And at some point, we have to make a choice. We have these stressors, we have these uh, opponents in our life, and these things that we have to overcome, or either they overcome us. And you have to get to that point where you make that decision. You say, I'm either going to let my situation dictate my future. I'm going to let the situation control the outcomes, or either I'm going to take control of this. And the Christian perspective is that you're not alone, that you never walk through this path alone, that you have not just God, but also your community there to help you. So we all have different stressors, and some of them are different than others, and the cards were not dealt out evenly. Some people have a crazy amount of obstacles to overcome, but there's an advantage in overcoming these obstacles. There's an advantage in facing that stress early in life. Why? Because you grow. I mean, growth doesn't come in a vacuum. You have to have challenges and obstacles and stressors to even understand what growth is. If you were sitting there and no one ever came to challenge your opinions, or no one ever came to tell you to improve yourself or to point out your flaws, or you never, uh, you know, tried something and failed at it to know that you had to improve at different aspects of who you were, you know, you would never grow. You would never try to overcome those barriers that got set in front of you. And that's what the scripture is talking about. It's saying that the trials of our faith help our perseverance grow. It helps us to grow in the act of overcoming our obstacles. And um, An example I've used before, a biblical example, is the story of David and Goliath. Now, David, he wasn't always a gangster. He wasn't always slaying giants left and right. He had to start small. He had started with small obstacles, and he was a shepherd. And the obstacle that he had was protecting the flock of sheep, and he had to protect it from wild animals. And that job prepared him earlier for later points of conflict. And just like the challenges you're facing at home now, whether it's with your parents or with your friends, with work, maybe with a disability or a disease, mentally being able to overcome and conquer that opponent will prepare you for anything in the future. Some of the things that you guys are facing now, and it blows my mind. I can't even think of a challenge that would come later in life that you couldn't look at and say, I'm not scared of this because of what you've been through already, because of the things that you've overcome and the things that you've conquered. See, life can be painful and sad and harsh sometimes, but it is through that perspective that you're able to see all the glory that's around you, that you're able to appreciate the love and stuff when it's finally found, that you're able to find value in things because you worked for them, because you overcame the obstacles that it took to get there. Things aren't handed out to you, and they never have been. And the more you put into something, the harder that work is that you put into something, the more valuable what you get out of it is. 12 or 16-year-old me didn't really have stressors, didn't really overcome too many obstacles. I kind of just went with the flow of things. And it probably wasn't until being a police officer, being a husband and a father, that I started, and just getting in adult situations, that I started having to overcome obstacle after obstacle. And I feel like, in the last 5 or 6 years, I've grown more than I have ever in the rest of my life combined, as far as mentally. So, it all hits us at different stages. But for you who are going through something now, you're in control of the outlook of your situation. You can either use it as a crutch and use it as a excuse for why you're doing so bad in your life, for why life has been beating you down left and right, or you can use it as a catapult. I know it's a cliche thing to say, but your situations can propel you into some great things, because once you've conquered a giant in your life, you can take on any other giant that steps in front of you. So it might sound unreasonable now for me to compare whatever you're going through as something that could have a positive outcome for your future. But I'm just letting you know that just because it's bad now doesn't mean it's going to be bad tomorrow or the next day, and that you do have some element of control over that situation, even if all it is your perspective, even if all it is the level of perseverance that you're practicing, that there will be, there will be light at the end of the tunnel. And for those of you who I did talk to or speak with this week or last week at camp who are going through those things, you're not alone unless you isolate yourself. That you think that you can bear all of that by yourself. And some of us are stronger than others, but we could all use a hand. So reach out. It doesn't have to be to me. It doesn't have to be to a family member. It can be to someone else you met at camp, that you meet at your church, or that you've met at school. Just don't carry the burden alone. Share. Thank you, everybody, once again for your input on the video yesterday, talking about advice for the channel. I told Tucker that I'd give him a shout out for being the first to like the video and watch it when it came out. So he clicked the little notification bell. So good job, Tuck. And I hope you all like, share, and subscribe. Have a good one.